JR, the expat in Saigon. I'm out here at our local park today to talk a little bit about why I switched from 24 frames per second to 30 frames per second with my videos. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about cinematic video, 24 frames per second, and my YouTube channel. The entire time I've shot for the YouTube channel, I've shot at 24 frames per second. That's because I followed all the directions and instructions that I saw on other channels that tout camera equipment and how to do things for YouTube and how to make cinematic videos. Honestly, I changed. About 6 videos I started shooting at 30 frames per second. And I think I had pretty good reasons for doing it. A lot of the things they tell you on YouTube that are cinematic, I don't think they are. 24 frames per second, I can't even tell the difference. And also, you see something that has cinematic in the headline and it turns out just to be a bunch of slow-mo stuff. So I'm not sure that that really defines cinematic. I think a good story or a good idea is really better than having your camera at 24 frames per second or shooting it all in slow motion. Honestly, I think my videos look better in 30 frames per second and that I get a smoother look on YouTube than I do at 24. It's really hard to tell. I can't tell by comparing the videos on my editor, and when I look at them on my monitor, I can kind of tell that the 30 frames per second looks better. I've never looked at it on a TV, so I don't know about that. But since about 90% of my audience looks at the videos on cell phone, man, my videos look about the same on 24 or 30. They're both okay, but smoother at 30 for sure. One of the main reasons that I like using 30 instead of 24 frames per second is for collaboration. A lot of my friends now that I try to collaborate and do videos with have cameras or smartphones that don't do 24 frames per second. You know, all my cameras shoot at 24 and I can edit in 24. Rhea's favorite camera is a little Nikon, I think, Nikon B700. It doesn't have 24 frames per second, but she loves that camera and it does a good job for her. Also, my friend Morton shooting with a cell phone. The smartphone doesn't shoot at 24, it shoots at 30. So 30 for collaboration is just better. If you put 24 frames per second video on a 30 frame per second timeline, it doesn't look as good. There's no doubt about that. That really, I think, motivated me to go ahead and move to 30 was that nobody ever noticed it. I've never had anybody say, you're shooting at 30 frames per second or you're shooting at 24 frames per second and you should be shooting at some other frames per second. Nobody ever notices. Everybody just watches the video. I've done over 140 videos at 24 frames per second. I had no complaints. I've done 6 videos now at 30 frames per second and I still have had no complaints. Nobody even notices. I think that using 30 frames per second is fine for YouTube. I think 24 frames per second is fine for the movies. I really don't see a reason to use anything other than 30 frames per second for my YouTube videos. Helps with collaboration, looks a little smoother, and I think it's the best way to go for me. Everybody's entitled to do what they want to do, but overall, I think 30 frames per second fits my workflow. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. This is JR, the expat in Saigon, saying thank you all for watching.